10 years of marriage and Sarah. Managed to sleep with pretty much every friend and colleague I had. I pretended not to notice, kept my mouth shut, and just went on like normal, taking our 1-month-old baby in for his checkup. And one day on the way to the doctor, her new boy toy ran me down with his car. The baby screamed, begging her to take us to the hospital. Sarah just stared at me, disgust plastered on her face. Annie, are you seriously trying to pull an insurance scam right now? Don't think this pathetic act is gonna make me care about you. You could drop dead right in front of me and I wouldn't bat an eye. And with that she peeled out, leaving me for dead. By the time the ambulance got there, my baby had suffocated in my arms. My mom, God rest her soul, couldn't take the shock and her heart gave out right then and there. When I woke up in the hospital, I just stared blankly at old man Thompson, Sarah's granddad. Just let me go. I've paid my dues to this family with my life. My phone kept buzzing with notifications non-stop. It was pictures of Sarah and her latest fling Chad. While I was practically dying during labor, they were at the Four Seasons knocking boots till dawn. Chad, covered in hickeys, was draped all over Sarah, grinning like the cat that ate the canary. Old man Thompson, bless his oblivious heart, still tried to salvage things. He pulled out a stock transfer agreement and put it in front of me. Danny, Sarah's just got a wild streak. You've loved her for so long. Give her another shot. As long as I'm around, no one can mess with you. I didn't say anything, just pulled up a video Chad had sent me. Their moans echoed in the sterile hospital room. Chad was panting. Sarah, you just left Danny in the street. Don't you feel bad at all? Sarah, necking on Chad, said breathlessly. Feel bad, please. I'm crazy about you. He and that kid couldn't even begin to compete with you, babe. The sounds made old man Thompson's face turn red. With a sigh he finally gave in. The Thompson family owes you. I'll handle the divorce. You'll be free in a week. As for your mother and the baby's funeral. Just then a nurse walked in carrying the baby's body. It felt like even God didn't want to see me, wasting my life in this sham of a marriage. This was a brutal way to cut the last of my ties. Turn my head away, trying to keep it together. Bury the baby with the Thompsons. I'm taking my mom's ashes. Old man Thompson nodded, looking utterly defeated. I was wrong to force you into this. Go. You deserve better. He hunched over, cradling the dead baby, and walked out. I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. Bitterness rose in my throat. The marriage between Sarah and I was all arranged by old man Thompson. Needed someone to keep an eye on Sarah. I needed someone to pay for my mom's chemo treatments. So we made a deal. I quit my job and married Sarah. After the wedding, I learned about Sarah's tragic past, losing both her parents early. I even saw her cry out for her mom in her sleep. Two broken souls finding some kind of connection. I wanted to heal Sarah's pain. I wanted to have a real happy family. So I tried my best to be a good husband. I learned to cook, trying to recreate the recipe she remembered of her mom's cooking. I visited places all over the country, building her a small cabin like she remembered as a child. Even learned all the kinky stuff she wanted in the bedroom. I thought we had a future together. But on our anniversary, she paraded my best friend into a hotel. I went crazy, drove there and confronted her. Sarah just laughed through the contract between me and her grandpa. In my face. Danny, who do you think you are? You think playing house with me for a little bit makes you special? You're just a pet I bought. You have no say in my life. Try to get on my bad side and I'll cut off your mom's medical care. Was stunned, unable to say a word. From then on Sarah only got worse. She got tired of influencers, then started hitting on my friends, constantly crossing the line. My mom needed her chemo treatments, but my marriage was just a sham. The two sides constantly kept me stressed out and on edge. Once I was so out of it, I fell down the stairs. I woke up to find out that Sarah was pregnant. Old man Thompson practically begged me, please keep this baby. It could change things between you two. If she still doesn't change her ways after the baby's born, I won't force you anymore. Full of confusion, I agreed. I didn't expect after everything I've done that my mom, my baby, my marriage and love would slip through my fingers. I wiped my tears away and looked out the window into the gray sky. I was glad for one thing, Sarah and I were both free. I got a phone call from Sarah while I was thinking. Danny, did you run to Grandpa and complain again? You ruined me and Chad's alone time. I'm warning you, I'll cancel all your cards if you do that again. 4. I would have been so down on my knees and begged Sarah for forgiveness. I would have tried my best to make her see things my way. But I just said blankly whatever. Sarah seemed to be surprised to hear me say that. But she laughed. After a little, I heard the baby was born. You think you're big stuff now. But don't forget, I'm still the Thompsons' heir. If you stay with me, I can just mess with you whenever I want. I closed my eyes. I've seen what Sarah's like. The first time I saw her sleeping with someone else, I went to old man Thompson for help. But Sarah took her revenge. She threatened my mom and made me get on my knees and slap myself. While it was freezing out, That night she slept with her boyfriend and I could hear everything. I had a swollen face and went to the hospital from the cold. Any feelings I had for her disappeared into the snow. I pretended I didn't see everything she did. After that, I stayed quiet and let her insult me. I pretended to be Mr. Thompson. My mom's gone now. My baby is gone. I'm done with this marriage. I hung up the phone. Then, I called my friend at the funeral home to schedule my mom's cremation. I saw Sarah standing in front of the room when I got back. She looked at me and laughed. Why aren't you crying anymore? You're fine after getting run over. You don't need to rest. I'm going to have Chad move in with me. He's not used to doing chores. So you can get out of the hospital and come be our maid. Sarah walked close to me. He smiled maliciously. Your pain is the best thing that gets me turned on. She watched me and hoped I would be sad. But I had a blank look. Sarah walked up to a nurse. How's the baby doing? Is it all right? Let me see it. The nurse looked scared. I sighed and said, Grandpa took the baby. Sarah was about to say more. But her phone rang. She got the call and her face immediately changed. Then she slapped me across the face. Annie, what did you do to Chad? If anything happens to him, I won't forgive you. I wasn't stable and fell into the handrail. The nurse helped me. Mr. Thompson just got hit. You're going to kill him. Sarah didn't listen. She took off. The nurse looked at me in the face. My face didn't change at all. It was like my feelings were all used up in the last 10 years. Doctor wanted me to rest. I found out why Sarah got so angry. The baby died and old man Thompson blacklisted Chad. Chad told Sarah that I was going to get revenge. That's why she hit me. Sarah took away my spot as a shareholder in the company. Then to make Chad happy, she named stars after him. Chad bragged about the diamond ring on his finger in interviews. I don't think I was the other man. A husband who can't keep his wife is going to suffer. Mr. Thompson only married into the family for money. I love Sarah for real. The comments were mixed. A lot of fans tagged me and told me to let Chad and Sarah be happy. It was all just so ironic. Sarah always does the same thing with her boyfriends. Years ago, she did the same thing with me. When she found out my family was poor, and that I had never had a birthday, she gave me 20 gifts on my 20th birthday. From a gold lock to a new house. She was making up for the last 20 years I spent suffering. I remember holding her hand under the stars. Danny, I lost my parents as a kid. I'm going to take care of your mom like she's my own. I'm going to build the happiest family with you. I believed her and fell in love with her. I actually thought I found someone to spend my life with. But after the first bit, Sarah lost interest quickly. Once when we were dating, she sent flowers to her other boyfriend and left me on a mountain. I walked for hundreds of miles by myself. My feet were bleeding and I still have scars on my legs. I should have known then. Sarah is selfish and doesn't care about anyone. The marriage contract was her way of getting out of the marriage. I left a comment on Chad's video. I hope you two last forever. Get married and have kids. Chad deleted the video. Sarah called me right after. I didn't pick up. I did what she did with me and blocked her number. I then realized it was my mom's cremation. I explained everything and checked out. The doctor came with me. I held the cremation box in my hands. But I wasn't crying at all. It was like I was finally done. I sighed and said goodbye to the doctor. And went back to Sarah's to pack. I went into the living room and saw Sarah and Chad on the couch. When they saw me, Sarah zipped up her skirt. But I still saw all the marks. I wasn't sad or angry. I pretended I didn't see anything and went into the bedroom. Chad had left. By the time I came out, Sarah was drinking. She looked up when I came out. She didn't show any emotion on her face. Danny, where were you today? None of your business. Sarah threw the glass on the ground. She walked up to me. Stop acting like you're so innocent. I know you were with someone else. Annie, are you always so lonely? Are you mad that I left you? If you are, then I'll give you what you want. Sarah tore my clothes and pulled me towards the bedroom. I was scared. I struggled and said, Sarah, what's wrong with you? I just got out of surgery. Sarah bit me on the shoulder. I pushed her off and slapped her. Sarah grabbed a glass and hit me. A bit of blood dripped down my face. Sarah stopped for a second and went to help me. Why didn't you stop? I wanted to say something, but I passed out. I woke up from Sarah and old man Thompson fighting. I was back in the hospital again. Sarah seemed to be relieved when I woke up. She looked at old man Thompson. This is the great husband you got for me, leaving our baby to mess around with other women. Old man Thompson was angry he wasn't with other women. Do you know where he was yesterday, Grandpa? I cut him off. It's all in the past. Old man Thompson knew what I meant and just stared at Sarah. Sarah waved her hand. He's awake. I don't need to be here. Chad's waiting. I'm leaving. Old man Thompson hit her with his cane. Monster, I don't care where you go. But you and Danny better come to the house tomorrow. Sarah disappeared. Before he could finish, old man Thompson sighed. He put the divorce papers in my hand. Danny, it's my fault for raising such a terrible child. But he's still your son. I hope you can be there to send him off. I looked at the old man. I didn't want to say no. The next morning, I came to Sarah's house in a black suit. I've been taking care of the baby ever since he was born. It's sad that he didn't get a chance to grow up. I wiped the tears away. I was glad I don't have anything holding me back now. I tried my best. I'm only tired now. Not sad. Sarah didn't show up until the baby was buried. I saw pictures of her trying on wedding dresses with Chad online. Chad sent me a message. I don't care about having a kid. Sarah chose me. Oye, did you think Sarah was taking care of you while you were passed out? She was with me. We were in the beds next to you and tried some new things out. The video showed me looking pale. Chad looked happy. I didn't reply. I just sent everything to Old Man Thompson. Then I took off my ring. I held my mom's ashes and said, "Mom, let's go home." Sarah came home late at night. She was drunk. She opened the door and saw all the flowers and got scared. Who died? Was it Danny's mom? She was scared and said, "Why didn't anyone tell me? Danny must be sad. I need to be there for him." Old Man Thompson threw the divorce papers at her face. Danny left with his mom's ashes. Today is your son's 7th day. The silence in the car was heavier than the urn sitting strapped into the passenger seat. I drove with the windows down, the freezing night air whipping across my face, stinging my cheeks. I needed it. For 10 years, I had been suffocating in perfectly climate-controlled mansions, choking on the stench of expensive perfume and betrayal. Now all I breathed was the cold, harsh truth. My phone started lighting up in the cup holder. First, it was a call. Then, another. Then a barrage of text messages. The caller ID flashed Sarah. I didn't answer. I just let it ring. But when she left a voicemail, a sick, morbid curiosity made me press play through the car's Bluetooth. Her voice echoed in the cab, shaky, frantic, slurring from the alcohol but sobering up fast. "Danny? Danny, pick up the phone. What is Grandpa talking about? What do you mean the baby is? What do you mean he's gone? Stop playing games, Danny. This isn't funny. Tell me you're hiding him. Tell me my son is alive. Answer me." The voicemail beeped, ending. 10 seconds later, another one started. "Danny, please. I went to the hospital. They said you took the ashes." "What ashes?" "Your mom. The baby?" "Danny, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't know. I didn't know about the car. I didn't know Chad hit you that hard. Pick up the fucking phone." I pulled over to the side of the highway. The darkness stretched out in front of me. I looked at my phone, tapped her contact name, and pressed block. Then I did the same to Chad, to her friends, to every single person associated with the Thompson family, except Old Man Thompson himself. I put the car back in drive and didn't look in the rearview mirror once. I drove for 3 days. I ended up in a small, coastal logging town up in the Pacific Northwest. It rained 9 days out of 10, the sky a perpetual shade of bruised purple and gray. It matched how I felt inside. My mom had always talked about wanting to see the ocean up here, where the pines met the water. She never made it. Now she would stay here forever. I bought a rundown cabin on a plot of land far from the main road. I bought it with the cash I had saved from my old life, refusing to touch the massive alimony and settlement Old Man Thompson had forced into my account. I didn't want Thompson money. I wanted quiet. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't hit you like a wave. It's like a slow, leaking pipe in the basement of your soul. Some days I woke up, drank black coffee, and spent 12 hours tearing out rotten floorboards and replacing drywall. I learned how to frame windows. I learned how to plumb a sink. The physical exhaustion kept the demons at bay. But other days, I would find a stray toy at the local hardware store, or see a mother holding her newborn in the grocery aisle, and my knees would give out. I'd spend hours sitting on the unfinished floor of my cabin, staring at the wall, wishing I had died on that pavement instead. 6 months passed like that. I grew out my beard. I lost the soft manicured look of a trophy husband. My hands grew calloused, stained with wood stain and engine grease. I got a job at a local carpentry shop making custom furniture. The boss, a gruff old guy named Mac, didn't ask questions. He just handed me wood and tools and paid me under the table. It was the most peace I'd had in a decade. Then one rainy Tuesday, an unexpected Blacktown car pulled up to the muddy driveway of my cabin. I was on the porch, sanding a rocking chair, when the back door opened. Out stepped Old Man Thompson. He looked like he had aged 20 years. He was leaning heavily on a cane, coughing into a handkerchief. I didn't run to greet him. I just put down the sandpaper and wiped my hands on my jeans. "Danny," he said, his voice raspy. "Mr. Thompson," I replied. "You're a long way from home. May I sit?" I gestured to a wooden bench on the porch. He sat down heavily, looking around. At the dense forest, the rusted truck in my yard, and finally, at me. You look awful, he said. I feel great, I lied. What are you doing here, old man? I signed the papers. You don't owe me anything. He sighed, pulling a thick manila envelope from his coat. I didn't come here as a businessman, Danny. I came here as a grandfather who failed his family, and as a man who owes you the truth about what happened after you left. I stared at him, my jaw tight. I don't care what happened to her. You don't, he agreed. But you deserve to know that justice was served. For your mother, and for my great-grandson. He tossed the envelope onto the workbench between us. I didn't touch it. After you left, Thompson said, staring out at the rain. Sarah completely unraveled. She went into heavy denial, convinced herself that you and I were playing a cruel trick on her to separate her from Chad. When she finally saw the death certificates, she broke. I felt nothing. No pity, no vindication. Just a hollow silence. But Chad, Thompson continued, his eyes hardening. Chad didn't care. He realized quickly that the baby's death meant my tolerance was gone. I froze all of Sarah's accounts. I locked her out of the trust fund. I fired her from the board. When Chad's credit card stopped working, his true colors showed up. Immediately. Let me guess, I muttered. He bailed. Worse, the old man chuckled darkly. He tried to extort her. He threatened to release videos of them together to the press to ruin her reputation. But he underestimated how far I was willing to go. I took the security footage from the street, the footage of his car hitting you and leaving you to die. I handed it over to the district attorney. That caught my attention. I looked up. Chad was arrested at an airport trying to flee to Dubai. Thompson said, a grim satisfaction in his voice. Vehicular manslaughter, leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, and felony reckless driving. The DA didn't offer a plea. He was sentenced to 15 years last month. I closed my eyes. The image of the headlights, the screaming of my baby, the sickening crunch of metal on bone. It flashed behind my eyelids. 15 years. It wouldn't bring my son back. It wouldn't bring my mom back. But it was something. And Sarah? I asked, my voice flat. I disinherited her, he said simply. I gave her a tiny monthly stipend. Enough. For a cheap apartment and groceries. Nothing more. She tried to fight it in court, but without my money to pay the lawyers, she was laughed out of the room. Her friends abandoned her within a week. She drinks a lot. The last I heard, she was working as a hostess at a dive bar across town. He stood up, groaning as his joints popped. The envelope, he pointed a shaking finger at it, contains the title to the Thompson Company shares I promised you years ago. They are yours, Danny. Fully vested. No strings. Sell them, keep them, burn them. I don't care. It's blood. Money, but it's yours. I don't want it, I said. Take it anyway, he commanded gently. Use it to do some good. Build a library. In your mother's name. Set up a scholarship. Just don't let my family's sin be the only thing left behind. He walked back to his car. I watched him go, feeling a strange sense of finality. He rolled down the window as the engine started. Goodbye, Danny. I am so sorry. Goodbye, Mr. Thompson. I watched the taillights fade into the fog. Then I took the envelope, went inside, and threw it in a desk drawer. I didn't look at it again for 2 years. Time is the only real doctor. 3 years after I left the city, I opened my own custom woodworking shop in town. I called it Eleanor and Sons after my mother. I used the dividends from the Thompson stock to fund the local children's hospital wing, and I sponsored a free chemotherapy clinic in the nearest city. The rest, I gave to animal shelters. I was 33. I lived a quiet life. I had a golden retriever named Buster. I was dating a local school teacher named Maya, a kind, grounded woman who liked hiking, didn't care about money, and communicated like a normal human being. He knew my past. She never pushed, just held my hand when I had nightmares. I thought the ghost of Sarah was finally dead and buried. Until Thanksgiving week. It was sleeting outside, a miserable, freezing mix of rain and snow. I was in the shop late, finishing a custom dining table for a client. The open sign was off, but the door was unlocked. I heard the bell jingle. We're closed. I called out without looking up from my router. Come back. Monday. No answer. Just the sound of wet, shivering footsteps on the sawdust-covered floor. I flipped off the router and wiped my safety glasses, turning around. Standing in the doorway was a woman. She was soaked to the bone, wearing a cheap, thin trench coat that had seen better days. Her hair, once a perfect cascade of expensive blonde extensions, was stringy dark at the roots and plastered to her skull. Her face was gaunt, the skin pale and stretched tight over her cheekbones. The arrogant spark in her eyes was entirely gone, replaced by the frantic, haunted look of a starving stray dog. It was Sarah. I froze. My breath hitched in my chest for a fraction of a second. But then to my own absolute surprise, my heart rate steadied. My hands didn't shake. I didn't feel the blinding rage I used to feel. I didn't feel the crushing sorrow. I just felt annoyed. Danny, she whispered. Her voice was raspy, ruined by cigarettes and cheap liquor. How did you find me? I asked, my voice completely steady. A private investigator, she shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. It took me 2 years to save up enough to hire him. You wasted your money. Get out. I turned back to my workbench. Wait. Please, Danny, wait. She stumbled forward. I needed to see you. I needed to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about, Sarah. You are trespassing. She fell to her knees right there in the sawdust. It wasn't the dramatic, calculated kneel of the woman I used to know. It was a collapse. She began to sob ugly, gasping sounds that echoed in the quiet shop. I have nothing, she cried, clutching her head. I have absolutely nothing. Danny, Grandpa died last month. Did you know? He died. And he left everything to charity. Every single penny. He left me a letter telling me I deserved it. I attended his funeral, I said coldly. I stood in the back. I saw you there. You looked drunk. She flinched as if I had hit her. I am. I can't stop, Danny. My life is a living hell. The people I thought were my friends laugh at me. The men I used to date won't even look at me. I live in a studio apartment with mold on the walls. I have to take the bus to a job where teenagers yell at me for getting their coffee orders wrong. Sounds like the real world. I picked up a chisel and began scraping a rough edge of the wood. Welcome to it. I'm sorry, she screamed, clawing at her own chest. I am so fucking sorry. Every time I close my eyes, I see you lying in that street. I see that baby. Our baby. I didn't know he was dying, Danny. If I had known, I swear to God I would have stopped. I stopped working. I put the chisel down. I walked around the workbench and stood towering over her. She looked up at me with wide, desperate eyes, hoping for a sliver of the man who used to cook her favorite meals and build her cabins. You didn't know? I asked quietly. She shook her head violently. No. I thought you were faking. I thought. You thought a car hitting a human being at 40 miles an hour was a fake? I crouched down to her eye level. She smelled like stale beer and despair. You heard my mother's grandson scream. You saw blood on the pavement. And your first thought was that it was an inconvenience to your date. I was sick, Danny. I was arrogant. I was broken. We were both broken, Sarah, I said, my voice eerily calm. But my brokenness made me want to build a family. Your brokenness made you a monster. I changed, she pleaded, reaching out with a trembling, dirty hand to touch my boot. I stepped back, disgusted. I see it now. I see what you were. You were the only person who ever actually loved me. Not my money, not my status. Just me. You let me destroy you, and you still stayed. Please, Danny, take me back. I'll do anything. I'll sweep the floors here. I'll sleep in the shed. Just don't let me be alone anymore. I looked down at her. 10 years of my life flashed before my eyes. The humiliation, the cheating, the cold hospital rooms, my mother's frail hand going limp, the agonizing silence of a newborn who stopped breathing. I had spent years thinking about what I would say if I ever saw her again. I had imagined screaming. I had imagined throwing things. But looking at the pathetic, wretched creature crying in my sawdust, I realized my revenge was already complete. The universe had taken care of it. Sarah, I said softly. She looked up, a glimmer of desperate hope flashing in her ruined eyes. Yes. Look at me. She wiped her nose and stared up into my face. I don't love you, I told her. The words weren't angry. They were just a statement of fact, as absolute as gravity. I don't hate you either. I literally feel nothing for you. You are a stranger. You're a ghost. You died the day you drove away and left me on the asphalt. Her face crumpled. The hope drained out of her, leaving a gaping, black void. If you ever come near me, my home, or my shop again, I continued, I will call the police and I will have you arrested for trespassing. And unlike your grandfather, I won't bail you out. Danny, please, she whispered, defeated. Get out. I turned my back on her and walked over to the office. I didn't look back. I heard her sobbing for a few more minutes. Then slowly, the sounds of her struggling to her feet, the jingle of the front doorbell, and then just the sound of the freezing rain outside. I poured myself a glass of water, drank it, and looked at the clock. It was time to go home. I locked up the shop and walked out to my truck. The sleet was turning into soft snow. It blanketed the town in a quiet, pure white. As I drove down the winding road toward my cabin, I saw a figure walking on the shoulder of the highway, head bowed against the wind, shivering in a cheap trench coat. I didn't slow down. I didn't tap the brakes. I just kept driving, the heater blasting, the radio playing a soft country song. When I pulled up to my driveway, the porch light was on. Buster barked from behind the door, his tail thumping against the wood. Through the window I could see Maya in the kitchen, wearing one of my oversized flannels, stirring a pot on the stove. She looked up, saw my truck, and gave me a brilliant, warm smile. I turned off the engine. I sat in the truck for just a moment, listening to the quiet of the forest. The past was finally dead. I grabbed my coat, stepped out into the falling snow, and went inside to my family.